to chop up for tonight's dinner. I'm making Thai coconut curry soup. You know I love the flavors of coconut and curry and soup. I don't know how long this takes to put together. Prep 15, cook 30, ready in 50. Sounds good to me. The 35-minute cook time is mostly, hopefully, simmering. I don't know. You know I don't read the instructions. I just read the ingredient list. And it calls for some simple ingredients. A soup base with the mirepoix. Wait, there's no onion? No onion. Okay, I'm sure you could add it if you really wanted to. But then we also have celery, carrot, oh, a green onion. Does that count? A little bit of butter to make the roux. We've got garlic, flour, rice noodles. I'm sure you can grab whatever kind you want. These are linguine. I've got coconut milk, some green curry paste, love that flavor, some cilantro. You can't have curry without cilantro. It is against the law. Ginger, and then a lime. I bought 2 limes. Oh, and a jalapeno too. I'm sure you can omit that. But if you seed it all the way, it won't be too spicy. I say that with a grain of salt, unless you're extremely sensitive to spice. All right, ignore sand on my counter. I don't even know where that came from. Ignore this too, because I don't know where this came from. Just kidding, it came from breakfast. And I also have about a pound of chicken. I've got chicken thighs. I'm just gonna cook these up. I like a good hearty soup. And so I find that whenever it calls for a specific amount of vegetables, I always just take that as a guideline. And I tend to always cut up a little bit more than what it calls for. So I'm just dicing up about, I don't know, 5 ribs of celery. And I tend to just slice mine right down the middle to make the pieces a little bit more manageable. And then I dice it up from there. With the carrots, same thing. I just cut it into manageable pieces. And then the bigger pieces, I just julienne like so. And then I go through those and make similar size dice pieces as the celery. I am using proper chef terms here, okay? Using my cordon bleu knowledge. I didn't go to culinary school for nothing. And then I'm going to take my jalapeno pepper and slice this down the middle and do my best to take the seeds out without getting any goop on my fingers. Hey, look how clean that was. I also kind of feel like I'm gonna cut this tip up too. I feel like I should get some gloves on. There's something about the way that the jalapeno interacts with the oils on our skin, and it just stays there. So if you touch your eyes, it is a literal nightmare, even after you wash your hands. So I'm just gonna dice this up, and then I'm gonna keep the seeds on the other. Well, I don't know. See, I debate things. My kids are kind of wimps, but I like a little spice, a little kick. I guess I'll take it out for now. Gotta please the masses. But if you're not a wimp, leave the seeds in and let me know how it is. Now I'm gonna pop some garlic cloves out of here. Oh my gosh, this garlic is so old, I can squeeze it. I bought new garlic, but okay, there's no way that is still good. Okay, time to get a new batch. I say that, but let me look at this one. Actually, this looks pretty good. All right, Food Network, hit me up. Using all the fresh ingredients. Let me just cut the bad part off of that. It's perfectly fine. Use what you have, you know? These are nice hearty cloves. That looks really good. I'm gonna do about 5 of those massive GMO cloves. And I'm just gonna run through those with my knife and give them a good old slice and dice. I'm gonna grab my other pot. I've been making too much sourdough bread in this one, and I just don't want that to be the flavor of my soup. I'm gonna melt in a 1/4 cup of butter, so half a stick of butter. Once the butter is mostly melted, I'm going to shove in the veggies, the carrots, celery, and the jalapeno, and then cook this down, I don't know, just for a few minutes until it's tender. While this is cooking, I have some lard left over from this morning. And I'm just gonna cook up the chicken. You can use pre-cooked chicken or just cook your own up however you like. Boil it, I don't even care. I'm sure you can even cook it in the same pan, but Tina, you fat lard. I'm not gonna waste this lard. I just season it really simply with just a little bit of salt and pepper. I do skin side down and then I season the other side. Once the noodles are nice and tender, I'm going to add the garlic cloves that I minced up. I don't know, a few tablespoons of green curry paste. I typically like to use the whole jar because like what else am I gonna do with it, you know? And then a little bit of ginger paste Those flavors are so great, and all of those ingredients add such a punch of flavor. And let it cook out for just a minute. Then I'm gonna throw in half a cup of all-purpose flour, and that mixed with the half a cup of butter from earlier, it's gonna form a really nice roux for the soup. Just cook that flour, taste out just a minute until it turns golden brown. That looks about good. It's not looking very good, but don't you worry, trust the process. I have 1 can of coconut milk I'm gonna throw in there. 4 cups of chicken broth. Ooh, the steam! I'm gonna burn my arm again. So I just use the Better Than bouillon because I have still yet to make my chicken stock, and then I just add it in. And then I'm gonna cover this and let it simmer for about 15 minutes. The rice noodles are boiling behind me, and I'm gonna take my cooked chicken. You could shred it, but I'm just going to cut it up. I just feel like it's less effort, and it's a little bit faster this way. So this is simmered for an extended period of time while the rice noodles are cooking. I'm going to add the chicken, some lime juice, and it says, that was hard to watch. I cut it a weird way, it's fine. The juice of 1 lime, and then it says to simmer again for 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Once the noodles are done, I'm just gonna plop those in. So like now, 8 ounces of Dan noodling going right in. I hope this is done. That looks about good. And then mix everything together. I feel like double this. I don't know, I feel like I could eat all of this soup. Sometimes my eyes are bigger than my stomach though. I mean, this is supposed to serve 6 to 8 people is what her dishes normally serve. Oh yeah, it's hearty now that you add those noodles in there, but still, like I want some more, I want some more. Plate it up, serve it, garnish it. I cut up some green onion and cilantro here. One thing I love about Elise Ellis's recipes are that they're less soupy and more hearty and filling, and oh, that's what I'm all about. That looks so good. I have a little bit of cilantro and a little bit of green onion. Somebody call the Food Network because this is seriously, oh my heavens. Absolutely delicious, delightful, flavor burst in your mouth. This was absolutely delicious. All my kids enjoyed it. They really like the flavor of curry. It's not overpowering in this dish. What I love about the soups that I'm making is, aside from like the tomato basil one that you'll see soon, they are hearty, they have a lot of bulk in them, and they're so filling and so delicious. This one, I'll tell you the macros. The carbs are 48, protein 31, and fat is 16. 31 grams of protein in a soup. Can't get much better than that. That's part of the reason why it's super filling, and just like the flavor profile with the lime in there too. Squeeze some extra lime juice on top of that. You'll thank me. Also extra cilantro too. Got another banger for dinner tonight. It is chicken and dumplings, healthy style. Just making sure that's what I have. So I'm going to start out with the dumplings, and really the only like special ingredient you need is some self-rising flour. Is this spilling everywhere? Of course, there's a hole in the bag. Why do they package flour like that? I'll never know. And then to make the dumplings a little bit healthier, I don't know how you normally make dumplings. Bisquick and water or milk, that's how I normally make them. But this recipe calls for Greek yogurt, and that's really gonna pack protein in our dinner tonight. So I guess let me show you what you're going to need for it. So I've got the trio here: onion, celery, carrot, and of course garlic. Let's just call it a quartet, if you will. Also some evaporated milk in a can, butter, and then chicken stock, but I'm using Better Than bouillon, and then some seasonings. Oh, and I've got my chicken thawing out in the sink over there because I'm so prepared. Didn't throw that in 20 minutes ago or anything. Then of course the self-rising flour and Greek yogurt to make the dough. The dough is actually really simple to throw together, and you can use it for a multitude of things. It calls for 1 3/4 cup of self-rising flour. A little flour got in the yogurt. And then 1 cup of Greek yogurt. You just plop it in together. You can use this for pizza crust. You can use it to make rolls. You can use it for a calzone. The possibilities are endless, but those are the only 3 things that are coming to my mind. That's all you need, and then just mix it up. You can do this by hand, I'm sure, but this is easier. Once it forms itself into a ball, that means it's finito, ready to go. Just gonna push that aside. I guess technically I could have made it while my veggies were cooking, but you guys know how I like to follow the instructions to a T. I'm just gonna chop up a few carrots, or a couple carrots, depending on how big they are. All right, that looks good. Now I'm going to work on my celery. My ribs of celery still have the green stuff on them, and I just think that adds a punch of flavor. So I'm gonna keep those on and just dice it like so. They're very fragrant too. Throw those in salads, what a treat. And then I'm gonna work on my onion. It's like Groundhog's Day over here. I once read a meme, it was like, when someone's trying to show me their really simple recipe and the first thing they do is chop an onion, like, I'm out. If a recipe doesn't have an onion, I'm out. All right, that's good. And then I'm gonna work on my garlic while my veggies are cooking. I have a 1/4 cup of butter melted in a pan. I'm just gonna throw all my veggies in. And then I like to season every layer. Cook this for about 5 minutes until the veggies are tender. This is another Elise Ellis recipe, by the way. If you're wondering how many cloves of garlic I use, I just grab a handful. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And then I just take my knife and dice it back and forth until the pieces get smaller and smaller. It just takes a minute or two. My veggies are looking good. I'm just gonna throw all the garlic in there and just cook that through for a couple of seconds while I throw my chicken thighs into a skillet. You can use a rotisserie chicken. That would actually be ideal, but I don't have any of that stuff, and so I'm just cooking a package of chicken thighs. I seasoned it really simply, just with some salt and pepper, and then I used this herbes de Provence that I got from Trader Joe's. I'm gonna add like 3 tablespoons of flour to the veggies, and then mix this in and coat this together just until the flour is golden brown. Okay, well this is like burning, so I am having a lot of trouble opening this. I'm gonna do my best to pour the can of evaporated milk in here. I'm not even sure if that's what I do next. Hold on, let me reference. Yes, flip the chicken while we're at it. It's been a while. There we go. And then I'm gonna throw in 4 cups of chicken stock here. What did I use this fork for? Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm using the rest of whatever's in here. Mix that in. And then I forgot to season, so I'm just gonna add some herbes de Provence in here too, because I'm fancy. Bring this up to a boil. Pretty much set off the smoke detector cooking this chicken. I don't know what it is, cast iron skans. It's pans. They're like barely hot and then piping hot. This is still really hot chicken. I should have let it, I let it sit for a while, but you can still see the juices are flopping out of it, which means I'm cutting it too early. I'm doing a terrible job. It just has a really nice crust on it. This piece will do much better. So I rolled the dough just into little tablespoon sized balls. I just used a spoon to scoop it up, and then I rolled it in my hands. It was no big deal. And I'm just going to cut my chicken up. And then once the soup comes to a boil, oh no, it's hot. I'm gonna throw the chicken in. Seems simple enough. And then I'm gonna throw all the teeny tiny little dumplings in here too. I've seen people roll this out, and you know how Cracker Barrel has their dumplings that are, you know, more. Oh no, oh, that was glass. Oh, there's shards everywhere. Okay, well, I know what I'm going to be doing while it cooks. What a shame. This was my favorite. It just got too hot. I'm just gonna let these cook. I'm gonna cover it. What am I gonna cover it with? For about 20 minutes. This came out so delicious. My kids loved the dumplings, and I loved that they were a little healthier since I made them with the yogurt. So I'll tell you the macros on it. The carb is 29 grams per serving, which is so great
for chicken and dumpling soup. Protein is 33, almost 34 grams, and fat is 9 grams per serving. It's just so fantastic. And my kids gobbled this one up. This was actually one of my favorites. I think it had that classic flavor profile of like a chicken soup, but with the dumplings in there. The dumplings, as you can see, are like perfectly round as they cooked. I didn't roll them that round. So I think if you wanted more texture on it, you can just like spoon it off without like rolling them in your hands. It would probably be easier too, but it is really easy to roll. The dough isn't sticky at all. So I thought this was fantastic. It was a crowd pleaser, family favorite, would make it again. So hearty, so good. Tonight for dinner, I'm gonna throw together something that I've been thinking about for a long time now. It is creamy tomato basil soup. I think this is the secret ingredient, the boursin cheese. I have garlic and herb. It is a crock pot meal, so it's like, do it in the morning, forget about it, and then come dinner time, maybe make some grilled cheese to go alongside. I don't know if I've ever had tomato soup, so tonight is going to be a treat for me. I'm just going to get my ingredients all chopped up. I'm just gonna throw it in the crock pot. That's the joy of a crock pot meal. It's no skill involved at all, very simple, very easy to do, and come dinner time, limited effort, and that's what it's all about. So I have some basil, fresh from my garden over here, and then tomatoes, also fresh from my garden. Red bell pepper, as you can imagine, of course, fresh from my garden. Got a bulb of garlic. I'll probably add the entire bulb because I'm a maniac when it comes to garlic. And then an onion and the boursin, some seasonings that I have yet to pull out, but otherwise I'm gonna get to chopping. I'm using the front camera on my phone. I'm not sure how the quality is. I broke my camera the other day and I actually want to cry about it. It's like the 20th one I've broken. It's a problem. I mean, when you think about it, 20th one I've broken. I've been doing YouTube for about 20 years now. So one camera a year, I guess, could be worse. I'm probably going to hunk and chunk these tomatoes. I have about 11. I think the recipe calls for 10 to 12. I got a lot of people to feed. I'm really just using however many came in the box that I bought from Costco. Maybe I'll save one for some hamburgers or something. Not that it's on my meal plan, but you never know, okay? I'm just cutting off the top here. I don't know if that's necessary, but I'm not a huge fan of tomatoes. So if I think this soup is good, I feel like that will be the ultimate compliment, right? That is such a beautiful sight. Once I get all the tomatoes chopped up, I'm going to chop up the onion. I'm just going to roughly chop this as at the end of this recipe, after everything cooks down, I'm going to use an immersion blender. So I don't think it has to be like really thinly diced. Plus it's gonna cook for a while. This is a really simple, like throw together crockpot meal soup. I haven't found a lot of these where you literally just dump and basically go. So I threw the onions in there and I'm just chopping up the garlic. I'm not even chopping it up. I just took it out of the casing, if you will, the, you know, paper, skin, whatever that's called. And then I'm dicing up the red pepper. I think this added a lot of flavor to the soup and kind of like a depth to it as well. It brought a little bit of sweetness into it. It was delicious. Definitely add that in. Don't skimp on it. And then the basil, and I threw that all into the crock pot. And then, oh my gosh, this is what makes it extra creamy, was adding the boursin cheese. And I've been looking for other recipes to use with the other 2 packs of boursin that I have. So maybe I'll find something else. And then I'm just seasoning it with some paprika, salt, pepper, garlic powder. Keep it really simple. Let the tomato flavor really shine through in this. And I just put it on low in my crock pot. It's been cooking all day. I'm gonna open it up and check things out. It's looking like stewed tomatoes. I smell the bell pepper and that smells really good. I have an immersion blender and ooh, look at all the juices that came out of this. All right, I'm just going to take my blender and blend it up. Color is so beautiful. I'm gonna have to like back away. So oh, there's still a chunk in there. I just felt it. Ooh, not many though. It's right there. I'm gonna have to go through, give it another pass, but I thought I'd give it just a little taste test before I garnish it. See if it needs any more flavor. Wow, okay. It's delicious. I am gonna hit it with a little bit more seasoning, and then I'm also gonna garnish it with, well, hold up. Let me get a bowl. Somebody give me a bowl. You know, I gotta get a little fancy with the plating because you only live once. I'm just ladling a little bit in this tiny skillet. Then I'm gonna garnish with, oh, I've never been this excited about tomato soup. I have some Parmesan cheese here. I'm just gonna garnish with. Oh, I just broke my grater. Great. I'm gonna pop a little basil right in the middle. Oh my gosh, somebody call the Food Network. And then I do have some croutons. I don't know how I'm gonna pop those on. The croutons are a must. I would definitely include those if you're serving it. I had a bag of croutons. I served it with the soup. We had a guest over that night, and he said, and I quote, the best tomato soup he's ever had. So if that tells you anything, you should add it to your meal plan. It was delicious. All of my kids ate it. They loved it with the croutons. Definitely some cheese up in there too. Did we eat it? Oh yes, we had grilled cheese sandwiches. We had the grilled cheese. Those were a hit. And just basic grilled cheese, nothing special. It was great.
I'm getting a little late start to dinner tonight. Evelina and I just got sucked into the Dollar Tree. Have you been there lately? What? It's wild. It is an adventure, okay? Tonight for dinner, I'm making stuffed pepper soup. It sounds incredible. I used to make something similar to this. I just called it unstuffed peppers. But honestly, this sounds more incredible, and I'm sure it's gonna taste a lot better than the crap I used to make, okay? It starts off with none of the basic soup ingredients, so if you're not into that, I think you'll be into this. It's also a beef-based soup, so if you're sick of chicken, this one's for you. Bell peppers, I tell you, every time I start slicing and dicing them, I always regret not eating these more often. So I'm starting out with a couple of bell peppers. I have a green one, a red one. Then I have an onion, some garlic. I have 2 cans of Appétit diced tomatoes, but I'm gonna add a little kick to it and add 1 can of diced tomatoes with green chilies, and then some tomato sauce, Italian seasoning, but I'm too lazy to refill mine, so I've been using the herbes de Provence. Also, like, I don't know, a tablespoon or 2 of brown sugar, I'm not sure. Beef broth is also on the docket. And, oh, of course, some beef. I've got that in the sink over there. And maybe just some other, oh, rice. I have to put some rice on. It's gotta be cooked. I just threw some rice on. It takes 20 minutes to cook in the Instant Pot, so it should all be ready at about the same time, hopefully. I'm gonna dice up the green bell pepper, not super small. What's up with my knife? I've been putting it in the dishwasher, maybe that's the problem. But just manageable pieces. And then my red bell pepper. Pretty large onion, but I'm going to dice up the entire thing. Makes me miss Christmas. I threw the ground beef in, and I'm going to cook the veggies along with it. I'm gonna throw some salt and pepper on here too, just to season every layer. This Worcestershire sauce was hiding behind the brown sugar. Okay, things are looking good and cooked. I'm going to add the garlic and just cook that for a minute. I diced it in this little machine. Great, it's like a little dicer machine. I've had it for a while. I normally use it when I'm holding a baby and have one hand, and it's actually kind of perfect. So I'm gonna throw that in, let that cook just a minute, and then I'm also going to add a few scoops of Italian seasoning. Okay, now I'm going to add the can of diced tomatoes, both of them. I don't know if I'm making a mistake by adding the ones with green chilies, and then 1 can of the tomato sauce. Also 3 cups of beef broth. I'm just adding normal water and then the beef bouillon. Just a big scoop of this. Is this expired or just weird? It's gonna add a good flavor. Also a little bit of Worcestershire sauce up in here. Just a little bit of that. And a little sprinkle of the brown sugar. This is a pretty hearty soup, which is honestly the best kind. Who wants like a runny soup that's not gonna fill my belly up? I'm still gonna be hungry. Right after dinner is when I'm gonna raid the pantry for some snacks if I have a soup like that. This is gonna fill you up. I'm gonna add a little bit more salt and pepper here too. And then bring it to a boil. I must have turned my stove off at some point, I don't know when, but bring it to a boil and then let it simmer. I'm probably just gonna let it simmer for like 10 minutes. It says 15 to 20, but I don't care. Better be a crowd pleaser because we've got a couple guests over for dinner tonight.
better not disappoint.
It's looking pretty much the same, but I did bring it to a boil. Are these onions cooked? I stinking hope so. I mean, at this point, this soup has been cooking for a while. I'm going to add a couple cups of cooked rice and then just mix that in. Should be good to go. Bon appetit. It actually smells incredible. It smells really good. I think you could even omit the Worcestershire sauce. So if you don't have it, it is a really strong flavor. Look at those garlic hunky chunks. Oh, you can't see anything. The hunky chunks of garlic. There it is. Nice. All right, this is gonna be so flavorful. Someone get me a bowl.
So the macros on the stuffed pepper soup are carbohydrates 32 grams, protein 36 grams, and fat 14 grams. Alex said it was the ultimate alternative to stuffed peppers. So if you're a stuffed peppers lover, but you don't want to go through all the hassle of making stuffed peppers, and then like, how do you even eat it? You know what I mean? You got to eat it with a fork and a knife. This, in my opinion, had more flavor. I would add either a jalapeno or green chilies next time. That's just how I roll. I know I added the diced green chilies, the Rotel, but I had a mild can, so it didn't have much of a kick, which was probably great for the kids. We also had 2 guests over this night, and they enjoyed it too. Many of them went back for seconds, and it made a lot, so that was nice.
Tonight's soup has minimal chopping. It is a cross. I'm kind of combining 2 recipes. Excuse me. Taco soup. And then I also have a recipe for chicken enchilada soup, but I'm making mostly taco soup, but I am adding some enchilada sauce. So it's like a blend. Minimal chopping. I've got garlic, I've got onion, and then I've got a lot of cans. What else do I need? Ground beef and some seasonings. I guess I could start pulling those bad boys out.
Seems like a lot of ingredients when you're looking at first, but really they're so simple. Most of this stuff I had in my pantry, if not all of them. I think I had it all in my pantry. Black beans, corn, some diced tomatoes. Of course, you can substitute like any kind of tomatoes that you have in a can. That's just what I happen to have. Green chilies, chicken broth. I'm adding some enchilada sauce. That always adds a nice little kick in there. And then some seasonings. I've got cumin, chili powder, garlic, onion powder, smoked paprika, and then herbes de Provence. So let me chop this crap up and it should come together pretty quickly. This is giving me chili vibes, and similar to chili, it's just easy to throw together. Perfect for a weeknight meal. And I even asked my family, like, which one do you want? The beef or chicken? Like, do you want taco soup or enchilada soup? And no one could make up their mind, really. Most of them said taco, so here we are. So 1 onion diced, and then a few cloves of garlic. If you just cut the root off like that, the rest of the garlic cloves just kind of separate on their own. So I've got 7 cloves, and I just give it a good smash. And then the paper kind of just flops off like so. This pot is the real MVP. I'm gonna throw my ground beef in with my onion and cook it at the same time because I'm a rebel. My knife cuts on this onion, man, like, what was I even thinking? I've definitely done better. Did I even cut it? Like, this is horrible. Lots of waiting around for this recipe, not much to do. It's looking like it's almost cooked, so I'm gonna throw the garlic in there just to cook that through for about a minute. I don't know if I'm just hungry or what, but this alone, I could definitely eat. Give me some rice, whatnot. I have 1 can of drained black beans and 1 can of drained corn. I'm gonna throw in whatever tomato base you have. I ended up just grabbing some fire roasted tomatoes. I think it's going to really add to the depth of flavor. I also have 1 can of enchilada sauce, 1 can of diced green chilies. That's gonna give it a nice little kick. And then I'm going to add, shouldn't I be adding beef broth to this? I don't know, a couple cups of chicken broth in here to lighten things up. Mix this all together. Then I'm gonna add some seasonings. I've got the classics, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, some smoked paprika. It just hits a different spot on the tongue. This is like a smokiness. Also a smokiness is some cumin, and then chili powder. This is great. Some garlic powder, one of my faves. Dump it all in, don't be shy. Ooh, some onion powder too, that's fantastic. Even though we added an onion, you can never have too much of that flavor.
And then maybe some Italian seasoning in there. Give this a mix, and I like to give it a whiff just to make sure it's smelling like tacos in there. My kids are screaming outside, and it always makes me pause. Like, is it a happy scream? Are they playing? Is someone hurting? Like, what is it for a minute? They're screaming, goal! Because they're playing soccer. I'm gonna let this simmer for a little bit. I can throw a top on this and just let the flavors really develop. I feel like the longer you can let it simmer, the better this is going to be. I'm just gonna work on the minimal cleanup. Don't forget to rinse your cans before you recycle them. And this is the rest of the cleanup. It's like, what? Am I even cooking? To garnish, I'm just gonna throw on a little bit of this cilantro that I have. It's looking kind of sad, but don't look too close, it's totally fine. And then I have these tortilla strips. These are my favorite. I found these at Costco. Not my favorite, but it also has like dried corn and stuff, and I don't know what that is, but this is where it's at. So before we garnish, I have a bin of freshly grated cheese here. Just gonna top it with that. And then I also have some tortilla strips, the multicolor ones. Give it some dimension. And then of course I have some cilantro. That was way too much in one little spoon.
Never too much cilantro, let me just say that. This soup was a hit and a half. Everyone ate it. Better than, well, okay, not better or worse than anything. Different than chili. I thought in my mind it was going to taste very similar to chili, but there was a clear difference with the flavor profile here, and it was delicious. All my kids loved it. Not too spicy, not too mild. It was Goldilocks style. I loved it all around, and I loved the addition of the enchilada sauce too. Throw that in. It was delicious and great. Maybe not the chunky tomatoes for me next time. Alex said it was one of his favorites.
Tonight for dinner, you guessed it, another soup recipe. It is creamy chicken and gnocchi soup. I'm sure you can make this without gnocchi because one, you can make it, and two, what am I trying to say? If you don't want to make it, you could buy it. But if you don't want to buy it, I think you can just use potatoes as a great replacement. These, so a gnocchi is essentially a potato pasta, if you will. Some people make it with ricotta cheese. That's my favorite way. They're more light and pillowy that way. That's how my dad makes them. I really like sweet potato gnocchi. You can make that and then throw it in like a sage butter sauce. That is my favorite. But I'm going for semi-homemade. You guys know I'm basically the new Sandra Lee. It's more convenient to just buy them in the package. And I found this Alessi brand. Looks really good. So I'm starting off by chopping up my mirepoix, carrots, celery, onion, and you also need some garlic, spinach, or kale if you want to use kale, chicken broth, very versatile. I feel like every recipe is versatile, however you use whatever ingredients that you have. I have chicken broth, half and half. It calls for milk, but this is the best I can do right now. Greek yogurt, herbs de Provence, and then here is the gnocchi that I picked up. I just literally, like, look how perfect that looks. No way I would be able to replicate that. I feel like by now you know the drill. I'm gonna start off by chopping up my vegetables. I'm gonna do like 2 carrots and like 3 ribs of celery. Keep the scraps for my chickens. And then I'll chop up an onion. Is it still cold where you are? Are you still going to be enjoying soups? I feel like I live in Florida, so it's never that cold. But today it's pretty warm, even though I'm wearing a sweater. I'm inside. That's Florida life for you right there. There is another cold front coming in. I say that. Cold for Florida. But you know what? Florida cold is unlike other people's cold because we've got that humidity, okay? Just gonna dice this up. It calls for cooked chicken, but I'm just going to cook my chicken along with my vegetables at the same time. And the other day, I'm using chicken thighs. That's what I typically have in my freezer because there was one day when Costco had them like $5 off and I lost my dang mind and I filled my entire freezer with chicken thighs. But the other day I was in a pinch and I made actually another soup recipe so if you're looking for another soup recipe, it'll be in my next like around the house happenings vlog. Anyway, I bought chicken breasts from Target and it was just so bizarre cooking with chicken breast. I feel like I need to do more of that. Just nutritionally, it's better, but I love chicken thighs. They're just so hard to overcook, but in a soup, they tasted fantastic. Someone actually shamed me the other day for using like convenience already cooked chicken in a bag. And I was like, you know, you live your judgments is all I'm gonna say. Pretty simple. I am throwing in some leftover butter from when I made pancakes this morning, and then just a little bit of oil. Pretty simple from here. I'm just gonna throw in the veggies, carrots, celery, and onion, and the chicken that I diced up. And I'm gonna season it all with a little bit of salt and pepper. And why not throw in some Italian seasoning too? Maybe a little more. If you're looking for a really great classic chicken noodle soup recipe, I have one of the best. It has a secret ingredient that's gonna blow your stinking mind. Forgot to chop up my garlic, so I just did that real quick, and I'm gonna throw it in once the veggies are tender and soft. Just let that cook out for about a minute. That's looking good. Now I'm going to add 4 cups of chicken broth or chicken stock. It's a full carton. 2 cups come in a can, 4 cups come in a carton. Still haven't made mine yet. One day it'll happen. Bring this to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to throw the packaged gnocchi in. I always spit it on myself, but that was pretty good. I'm just gonna break them up a little bit. And they cook pretty fast, I think like 3 minutes. My kids love these so much. It's like their favorite part of the soup. I also make, what's that one soup that Olive Garden has with gnocchis? So good. Is it similar to this, or does it have sausage in it? I can't remember, but I make it with this, and I always add 2 packages. Right now, I'm just gonna add 1 for, you know, to keep the macros equivalent, but in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I should probably add the 2nd pack that I bought. Okay, the noodles are nice and boiled, so I'm just going to add a couple cups of the half and half, or any kind of milk, and then half a cup of the Greek yogurt. It's gonna make it nice and creamy. And I have a lot of spinach. If this is frozen spinach, you're supposed to add fresh spinach, but that's just what I have, and it works out just fine. I may have added too much. I don't know. You know how spinach is.
Speaking of Alex's favorite soups, this happens to fall in the top 2 category for him. I really think any soup that he's eating is his favorite soup, because he's just a hungry boy, you know? This one, clear winner. Clear hit for the family. Oh my gosh, so delicious. The creaminess by adding the Greek yogurt, it just brings it to the next level. Just, I mean, take a peek on that. No need to garnish here because the spinach is giving like the greenery, the pop of green. The carrots are saying hello. It was delicious. It was so good. I love the gnocchi. By the way, I am saying that the proper way, okay? And so are you, because potato. So good, so creamy, so delicious. Put it on your meal plan. It was so easy to throw together. So simple, no skill involved at all. And your family's gonna love this. It's more of like the classic flavors of soup. I think that's why it was such a hit. It's like a comfort soup. It's like the soup is giving me a big old hug, okay? That's what it felt like. So if you're looking to warm yourself up this winter, there you go. Here are all the soups that I made. I hope it gave you some great dinner inspiration because they were so tasty. Every single last one, I would make them all over and over again. If you want to, subscribe, put a little happy in your day, and I'll share more recipes with you in the future. I will see you next time. Which soup are you going to make tonight? That's the real question. Bye.